Chris Plank previews Oklahoma and Tennessee. It's college football smothered and covered, presented by Locked On.
You are Locked On College Football, smothered and covered, with your host, Barrett Sallee. Your one-stop shop for everything college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. This show brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We will do Time to Shine here in a little bit, but my colleague at SiriusXM also does. Hey, I love the shirt, the SEC shirt. With the ref, like you're representing your show backwards. With SED side. Right, this side.
Sorry, you turned around.
What's up, man?
Not much, Barrett. Silly, I've really enjoyed as a newcomer to the SEC, your podcast, the YouTube show. I'm learning a lot.
I appreciate that.
And as Oklahoma gets set for its, I guess you could say, it's their first SEC matchup. I'm learning more about the passionate nature of other fan bases as well. They like to try to infiltrate your local radio shows, and I'm here for it, baby. So it's been a fun week. It's been a fun couple of months here as we got set for football season, and then to get into it, dude. Life is good right now here in the 405.
It's a very fun time, I would imagine. Game day is going to be there. Yeah. You know, I think everybody thought, okay, first SEC game for Texas and Oklahoma, it's going to be fun. But man, after what we've seen Tennessee do, and Oklahoma coming into the conference, I mean, this is going to be a fantastic atmosphere out there.
You can say it, Barrett. After what we've seen Tennessee do and what we really haven't seen Oklahoma do offensively yet this year, it's taken this to not only where the odds makers are looking at it completely differently, but it went from an anticipated competitive matchup to now, in the eyes of some, I mean, why is Oklahoma even showing up on Saturday night? So, it's funny because it's been a completely different world for Oklahoma fans. Not even talking about the SEC side of things, Barrett Sallee. It's a defensive-led football team. We're not used to that around here, and it's
now.
Different.
Granted, that is part of the reason why you hired Brent Venables.
Exactly,
it's not normal.
100%, man. It's funny because all anyone ever said when Oklahoma would be outscoring teams and, you're putting 50 on the board, but you're also giving up 35 or 42. All anyone ever said was, well, all I want is a defense. Well, that was a lie because you got a pretty good defense now. They're going to be tested like they haven't been tested all year on Saturday. But it's wild to go into a massive matchup in an Oklahoma game and wonder, all right, how's the offense looking? Is it going to be able to go out and score the points necessary to win this game?
Yeah, it's gonna be wild. I think the biggest part of that, I've said for a long time that, not a long time, since Tennessee, sort of started to get some buzz. That tell you what, we can talk about Nico all you want, but that defense is going to be fierce, and that front seven,
it's really good.
I'd say that is the strength of this team.
Yep.
The weakness for Oklahoma is the offensive line. It's been a struggle to run the ball, and we kind of all saw it coming, like a little bit, like, okay, you're replacing some dudes. This might be a little difficult, but what the hell's wrong?
It's a good-looking question. It's a myriad of things. They're not healthy on the offensive line. Number one, Bear. That's what happened here. Just Jake Taylor had probably his best offseason and was slated to be the right tackle. Then he got hurt in practice. You go out and you get Branson Hickman. The transfer portal after spring. And then now the current center, Joshua Bates, had a pretty good spring, but you felt like you needed an upgrade there. So they went and got Hickman from SMU, and he's played 9 snaps, and he got hurt. And then you quickly realized these young guys are going to take a little bit of time before they're ready to go. So what's crazy is the least talked about portal addition this offseason was Michael Tarquin. When Oklahoma added Michael Tarquin, it had been at Florida and USC. He's Tony Baselli's son-in-law. When they added Tarquin, I mean, Verdi was like a big, hey, how about that? It's like, oh, okay, good. They got a swing guy that can back up. He's played every snap, essentially, outside of late in the Temple game when it was a blowout, and he has been the stalwart at left tackle, and then he shifted over to right tackle a little bit last week, too, because of injuries. So and I don't know. I don't know if he's an NFL guy. I don't think he is, but it's wild to think that, one of the guys you were bringing in is maybe a backup, a depth provider, has ended up being a good solid piece. And then one of the guys you went out and got that you thought was going to be a starter in Spencer Brown from Michigan State just hasn't been what you thought he needs to be to get on the field. So one, they're dinged up, but I'm like everyone else. If you're blaming injuries, that's an excuse. And then number two, Tyler Guyton leaves early for the NFL. Andrew Rain kind of surprised everyone whenever he left early for the NFL. So that's two starting spots you got to replace. And then a dude that they were probably building the future of their offensive line around, Caleb Green, he transfers out of nowhere to Missouri. So it's been a hard road to toe for a hard road to toe. Anyway, it's been
that's right. I think that's right.
But Bill Beanbo, you'd love him if you got to talk to him. He's great. He's hard nosed, but I don't know if he's faced anything like this with the injuries. And great, it comes at a time when maybe one of the best defensive linemen, and then in that one of the best defensive lines, maybe in college football, is coming to town in Tennessee. So it's been a work in progress. They've had 3 different starting lineups on the offensive line in each of their 3 games, and you'll probably see a 4th different one on Saturday night.
That's wild. And this is the last team you want to have that to going up against. And look, if I'm Jackson Arnold, we talked about Jackson Arnold. You talked about him. We talked about him together on Sirius XM. And actually, last time you were on the show, it's like, well, all we heard about Jackson Arnold. What's he going to be? What's he going to be? And so far, he's been all right. But a lot of that is the fact that he's only been all right because of the offensive line issues. With that said, what are some things that have surprised you, either positively or negatively, about how he's played?
I think let's go. I'm trying to stay glass half full, so I'll go positive, negative, positive. Positively, he's more of a runner than I think many people anticipated, and not just in the 100 yards on Saturday night against Tulane. I think it actually ended up being 97 because he took a sack late or kneeled the ball down. But it can be a difference maker, and I think on Saturday night against Tennessee, his legs have a potential to be the big-time difference maker. And I don't know if it's because of his build, but you don't really look at a guy like that, Arch Manning type, where you're like, he can run the football, but he can. So that's been a pleasant surprise. The disappointing side has been just when things seem to go south like they did against Houston for a couple of drives, I feel like it carries over. And maybe that's a young quarterback coming through it that doesn't have – a veteran offensive line like Nico has, right? He's having to work his way through it, and I feel like when something bad happens, it might linger for a play or two. I think we have coined the term quarterbackial, and he doesn't sometimes seem quarterbackial in those moments, right? Mm-hmm. But I think it's also something, Barrett, that will develop over time. So that's been a little bit concerning. And he's made some bad throws. He had Jaquez Petaway last week and missed him. But then again, his receivers haven't helped him. He had Deion Burks wide open for probably the best throw he's had all year, and he hit him right in the 6th, and dude dropped it. So it's been a myriad of a lack of attention to detail. Gabe Eichert, our buddy over at Sirius XM, and he does his pod, has talked about it a lot. This is an offense that doesn't seem to have an attention to detail that you need to play at a championship level. So, that's a lot of negative there in the middle, but I would wrap it up with a positive in that while it might carry over from like drive to drive, it's not the end of the world. He's able to get out of it. He shakes out of it. They had 2 big drives late to kind of ice the game last week. Now, we can debate whether or not you should need a drive late to ice a game against Houston or Tulane, and you'd be 100% right. But he seems in those big moments to really step up, and he's learning how to lead. I mean, he's still a sophomore, basically making his first starts, and it just hasn't been smooth. But I think it's been one of those, you see the growth every single time he steps on the field, and that's reassuring to me. Long way to go. He's not going to go out and throw for 400 yards on Saturday night and suddenly be dropping Peyton Manning dimes. And I don't know if you would on this defense anyway. Maybe on their secondary, but I don't know if you could protect them long enough. But it's definitely the term I would use is a work in progress.
Yeah, it certainly seems that. And before we take a break, I mean, this has been a long time coming, right? 2021, we were at SEC Media Days. Brent Werneman breaks that news, and we're all kind of like, what? Really? There's no way. It's
right.
Sure enough, it happens. what's the buzz been like leading up to? Because I don't know about here, I don't know about out there, but here it's like they're Oklahoma's the new girl in school, right? We've
Sure.
seen Texas; they went to the playoff,
Right.
you beat Alabama, whatever. But Oklahoma's like you hear about them, you don't know a whole lot, but then now school is starting, and you actually get to see what the new
Sure.
girl looks like.
I
Is that kind of like how it feels for you guys out there in
Yeah,
terms of coming to the SEC?
I think that's good. And let's remember, it is a team that hasn't been to the playoffs since 2019.
Yeah.
And that had been kind of a regular stop for them. So they've been removed for what is that, 4 years. It's a whole new brand because Lincoln Riley took his offensive attack out to USC, and now it's a first bus in as the defense, right? So it's I think all new across the board. So for fans, it's excitement, right? But I also think there's a nervous energy because of how good Tennessee appears to be coming in and how that offense that went out to USC, just we haven't seen it yet. Or that
Yeah.
quarterbacking that went up to Oregon, we really haven't seen it quite yet. Or even to a certain degree, that offense that's down at Starkville right now with Jeff Lebby, who's gone. I think there's like this nervous energy to where we're ready to show out and show you what Oklahoma is all about. But is this offense ready for that Tennessee defense? And I feel there's a massive Barrett level of excitement, but there's also one of those kind of careful what you wish for
Right.
mindsets too. And I think that there is a lot of confidence in what the defense can do, but concerns about whether or not they'll be able to go out and score. But the fan base is elated to have this moment. I think so.
Yeah, I can only imagine the buzz out there. We'll take a break. When we come back, more Chris Plank. We'll talk a little bit about Tennessee's offense, specifically Nico Iamaleava. It's college football smothered and covered, and of course, we are powered by Locked On. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We've had something a little different for you now through September 22nd. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every single regular season Sunday out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com, download America's #1 sportsbook. We're also brought to you by Roy, college football smothered and covered fans. You need to get this. It stands for Return on You. It's a new platform that lets you, the fans, get involved in NIL like never before by making contributions directly to your favorite athletes. Fans' contributions are securely held and are only distributed if the athlete makes the decision that aligns with the fan's support. If not, the money is returned to the fan. By using Roy, fans not only support athletes financially, but also become part of their NIL journey, helping them succeed both on and off the field. Download Roy for iOS or Android and enter referral code Locked On, and you'll automatically be entered into a sweepstakes for $5,000 cash. Visit joinroy.com for additional details. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Get the Roy app for iOS and Android and use code Locked On for a chance to win $5,000 cash. Get off the sidelines and get into the NIL game with Roy. All right, Chris Plank is back on the show. I don't pay him in Roy, but worth it. He's worth every penny.
Thanks, dude.
Worth every penny. So, all right. So let's talk about Nico Iamaleava. I think Tennessee fans are pumped about this guy. We heard a lot about him after the bowl game. To me, him and Jackson Arnold were kind of the same guy, right? You heard a lot about him throughout the course of last season. They both get to play in the bowl game. They both look pretty good. And you're like, okay, we can work with this. We can work with this. Obviously, we talked about Oklahoma's issues and what Jackson Arnold has to deal with the offensive line. Nico doesn't have to worry about that. This dude has been unbelievable. So from your take out there and what you've been hearing from fans on your radio show, what's the opinion of Nico?
Very impressed, right? And he has a very good offensive line. His weapons, Brew McCoy is one of those guys that I feel like has been in college forever. And Chris Brazell was making plays for Tulane last year, and I look out there and they're balling. The running game, the thing that I feel like most fans, I think they know this, but we hear the air raid or the hurry up, no huddle or the spread. And you're like, oh, they throw it around the yard. Well, really? No, they want to be based in a solid ground game. And Tennessee is, and it's really good. I think it was North Carolina State that kind of dropped 8 and was trying to force them to beat him running the football, and they beat the snot out of him running the football, right? It didn't work. So, it makes, if you just go on the body of evidence for this season so far, it makes a bazillion% sense, if that's even a number, why no one would be giving Oklahoma a chance in this game. Because I'm telling you what, I watched the North Carolina State game a little bit right before we jumped on. I was watching some of the clips of it. And, Nico just, he looks like the kind of guy, right, that can start on Sunday now. He's smooth. He's accurate. Even whenever he's in trouble in the pocket, he doesn't seem to panic. And at times when you watch Oklahoma, maybe you see a little bit of that panic from Jackson Arnold. So it's really impressive, man. Josh Heupel and Joey Halsley have done a great job with him at Tennessee in a very short amount of time. And I think sometimes we want to see the freshmen play right away when they come in. I can remember last year many times Oklahoma fans were wanting Dylan Gabriel out and Jackson Arnold in, and I'm sure there were Tennessee fans that wanted Joe Milton out and Nico in. But
especially halfway through the season when they realized Joe Milton can't throw a curveball or a changeup.
When they lost to Florida in week 3, I'm sure that was a major one too. But I just am really, I hate to use the term awe, but I'm just really impressed with how they've been able to get him up to speed and not move away from the plan, right? The plan is let him sit, let him learn, and he has. And you almost feel like you're watching someone that, even though they haven't been in hostile situations yet, every single time there's been a challenge, they've stepped up to it. So, Oklahoma's going to have to get pressure on him, and not just edge guys, but they got to get pressure from the interior in order to really affect things on Saturday night, or, Nico's going to eat. And then even if you get pressure, you better make sure you bring him down, because he's a pretty elusive dude.
Yeah, that's the problem. Getting there, but also finishing.
He's a beast.
Because, he's not Johnny Manziel, but he can be pretty darn close at times. So, in my neck of the woods in Atlanta, and really I think the SEC footprint in general, we kind of know the Josh Heupel, Oklahoma rivalry, bad blood thing. Like, we know it exists, but and we know it matters this week because we've heard about it more this week than any other time. But this is kind of a simple question, I guess, with a very complicated answer. What is it?
Okay, how much time do we have?
We don't have hard outs on this show.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Well,
we don't have that top of the hour break where it's like 57:50, 57:50, 57:50. Got to be out.
You're going to see, I think ESPN has an article on it. I think The Athletic has an article on it today. So let me go ahead and just save you having to sit around and read forever. Josh Heupel got fired by Oklahoma.
Yep.
I mean, that's after the 2014 season when Oklahoma got embarrassed in I think it was the Camping World Bowl in Orlando. Cool. It was a miserable experience. And a Brent Venables defense at Clemson kicked the ever-loving snot out of Oklahoma that night. And it was 2014 was a really big letdown year for Oklahoma, Barrett, because they had won that Sugar Bowl against Alabama. Trevor Knight looked like Trevor Knight looked like the future of the program, and then just the bottom fell out in 2014. So Josh was fired. Jay Norvell moved on at that point too. I mean, it's kind of wild to look at those two guys and where they are.
Yeah, right.
And it just, it led to some really bad blood, because Josh felt like he was the person that had kind of been integral in getting Baker here. And then also his offense would be perfect for Baker Mayfield, right? It always that's the rumor.
And it
because Baker, and Baker was sitting out in 2014. We still had transfer rules back in those days, so he was sitting out. And they realized they needed to make a change, so Josh was let go. And there were ties with, I think, Josh's wife. Her family is the Borens, and that was the president at the time. So that led to some bad blood there. And I think more than anything, and I would never try to speak for Josh Heupel, but I just think I think he was pissed off that he didn't get another year. I think he felt like he deserved another year and that he had earned an opportunity to turn it around. So everyone has some variation of the story. There it is. And then Oklahoma went out and hired Lincoln Riley, and kind of the rest is history. And when Brent got the job, in 2022, there was a Hall of Fame ceremony for Roy Williams, and there was a picture that started to make the rounds of Josh and Roy and Brent. And I think that was a moment where everyone kind of, what is it, like the 10-year mark when you kind of let bygones be bygones? You kind of realize that, okay, I'm done holding this grudge. So I think it had kind of reached that 10-year mark too. And Venables and Bob Stoops too. When Lincoln left, it really hammered home that, hey, we're a player-led program. Oklahoma's a player-led program. And it's not about one coach or one person. So I think that was getting back to the roots. And the story of Oklahoma football cannot be written without Josh Heupel. He was the quarterback in the national championship game in 2000 the 2000 season, and that offense won them a lot of games. And he probably should have won the Heisman that year. But the bottom line is the way it ended in that 2014 season 2014 season really left a bad taste, I think, in Josh's mouth and several of those who supported him too. But like I said, 10 years, Bob Stoops retired, but he's still very much around the program. And I think they've fixed whatever issues might be there in their relationship. But I know that Brent loves Josh. Absolutely. I love Josh Heupel, man. He was awesome. He was great to deal with for me. I tell the story a lot. I was always so nervous whenever I was around the team early on in my OU career that I introduced myself to him a couple of times. And the second time he's like, dude, I know who you are. You can stop introducing yourself to me. Let's just do the show. So I got the biggest kick out of him. His wife was always around the program. She was great. I'm really happy that it seems as if whatever pain was there has started to melt away, and maybe over time. I wish the team he was bringing in on Saturday night wasn't as good as it is for Oklahoma's sake.
Right. We just saw them roll out an onside kick up 30. So
up 30, right. But it was part of the game plan, so it's not that bad, right? But to me, I could not be a bigger Josh Heupel fan because of how he went about it. He went to Utah State under Matt Wells. Then he went to Missouri. Then he got the head coach's gig at UCF, which kind of came out of left field even at the time for me. And then at Tennessee, he's not doing the same things he did at Oklahoma. It's a whole new offensive attack. And it's really cool to see the way that he has adjusted and the coach that he's become. And now I'm sure there's going to be a cheer for him. I don't know what kind of acknowledgement, if any, there'll be on Saturday night, but I think he's reached that point now where he's a beloved member of Sooner Nation.
Well, that's good. That's good because he should be. Because
he should be.
Right. And we'll see if there's any animosity taken out in the field.
Yeah, if he's up, I
think from everybody's perspective, let's just not get to that point and have a good game.
Right. Well, and if they do, I don't think he's going to let the gas off the pedal. But I also don't think that anyone would expect him to if it was Oklahoma or Alabama or Auburn or whomever. So,
and I don't think Oklahoma will either. I think they're going to be like, we're going to make a statement. Let's go.
Sure, absolutely. If it ends up the other way too.
All right, Chris. Let everybody know what they can do, how they can get you, and what your plans are this weekend.
Well, it's a big weekend. You mentioned game days in town, so our radio show, College Game Day Tailgate, is on from 8 to 11 a.m. Central Time. Bobby Carpenter and I. That's God's time zone, the Central Time Zone. And then, it's just I'm on the radio network, so we've extended our pregame show because in the SEC it just means more. It's got to be bigger. So we've got a 3-hour pregame show now.
That just rolled off your tongue really, really easily.
We've practiced it a lot, man. It's been a part of our vernacular for a while. But I'm really excited, man. And Barrett, I'm not just saying this because you have it on. I'm grateful for your podcast. I know there's a lot of options out there, but I always learn a lot from you, and I love your perspective on things. And I'm hoping that maybe you give me a call next week and we can talk about a win over Tennessee, but it's going to take a pretty perfect effort from Oklahoma on Saturday night.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll
buddy.
Venmo you the bribe that I owe you now, and we'll talk to you next week. Chris, good to hear from you.
See you, Barrett. Thanks, bud.
This episode brought to you by Game Time. Game Time. You love Game Time. They have a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. There's a super deal. It's amazing. You get other tiers of deals as well. Curated deals make it easy to find the best price on great seats. There's seats you can view as you buy, lowest price guaranteed, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, Game Time has it all. Filter out all the fluff and only look for incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time looking through thousands of tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. All right, it is Thursday, which means it is time to shine. That's when we give you some players, some teams, some units that need to shine this week to prove something to me, prove something to the college football world. And it's no surprise that the first player we're going to talk about is Alex Orji, the Michigan quarterback. Takes place of Davis Warren. Davis Warren, incidentally, completed every single pass he threw last week. Just so happens 3 of them were to Arkansas State players. I don't know what it is about Alex Orji. Everybody talked about him being the number 1 guy going into the season. And I think it stunned everybody in week 1 when news was reported that Davis Warren was going to be the guy. It makes me think, is Alex Orji just a terrible, terrible practice quarterback? Or does he have some serious issues? I don't know. I've said it many times. Josh Dobbs was a terrible quarterback for Tennessee in practice. Turns out he's a superstar in games. He's a gamer. Is Alex Orji a gamer? We know he can run. All he's got to be is adequate in the passing attack. You add him in the running attack with those running backs and the way they block, that's fine. Just be okay in the passing game. Just be okay, and you might have a chance against USC. I'm not saying you do, but you might. And that is a massive improvement than what it would be with Davis Warren, which is you'd have no shot. Nico, actually, no, we're going to go Matt Rule first. We're going to go Matt Rule, head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Friday night, one of the biggest, actually the biggest game he's played or coached since he's been at Nebraska. Yes, that's correct. Illinois is ranked. Illinois is good. We've talked about Illinois this week on this show. We have not talked a lot about Matt Rule. The dude can rebuild a program no matter where he is. I don't care about the NFL stuff. This is a perfect chance for Nebraska to say, hey, look, Big Ten, we're here. We can do this. We're back into the national spotlight. And if they win this game, they're going to be undefeated going into mid-October. How great of a story would that be? But he's got to get by Burt first. He's got the quarterback. Dylan Raiola is fantastic. Can't wait to see what Matt Rule does. Cam Rising, all reports say he's going to play this weekend. And this might be the best Big 12 game of the season. Might be the most important Big 12 game of the season. Going to Stillwater to take on the Cowboys and Mike Gundy. This is an Oklahoma State team that I still believe in. This also is a perfect chance for Cam Rising to remind everybody that he is still the superstar that he was before all the injuries. Now, this might not be an elimination game for the Big 12 championship game, but the loser of this game really has a thin margin for error. So it's up to Cam Rising. Can you be that star? Because Alan Bowman is a score. Does Alan Bowman scare anybody for Oklahoma State? Kind of. He's okay. But Cam Rising at 100%, dude is a flat-out stud. So Cam Rising, it's your time to shine. Last up, Riley Leonard. I know it's against Miami of Ohio, and last week they played Purdue. But this is a great shot to show me that you can do it twice in a row. Notre Dame's going to beat Miami of Ohio, but can they run them out of the building? The way they do that is with Riley Leonard. We saw glimpses last week against Purdue. Can we see it again? Now, I know if we do, everyone's going to say, oh, they ain't played nobody. They ain't played nobody. Oh, okay, fine. I don't care. I just want to see if Riley Leonard's 100%. I want to see what his new 100% is. I want to see if he can take over a game. Again, in consecutive games show that he's building himself back to where he was. So, Riley Leonard, it's time to show me something. That'll do it for this edition. College Football Smothered and Covered, powered by Locked On. Hey, for your next listen, go check out Locked On College Football. Spencer McLaughlin does a great job getting you ready for the weekend as well. You can find that description right below. It's easy. Whether you're watching on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, it's right there. Picks coming up tomorrow. Till then, have a great Thursday.